Back in 2018, if you were a fan of the Metzeler tyre and you rode an adventure bike like the R1200GS here, then you'd pretty much choose between a couple of different models of tyres for your bike, depending on the conditions that you were going to ride in. You would either choose the tarmac only version, which was the Tourance Next. Yes, you could take them off-road, but they were designed predominantly for riding on the tarmac. A brilliantly performing tyre, particularly in the wet. Then you could go down the path of choosing the off-road tyre, which was the Karoo 3. And this is an amazing tyre that you would use if you're doing adventure riding, serious adventure riding off-road. And an incredible tyre that we have done a review on these, and there's a video on this channel about that. But there was a problem because you got these two extremes in here. So in 2018, Metzeler introduced another tyre which sat fair and square right in the middle of these tyres, and that's called the Karoo Street. So it's a tyre designed to ride on tarmac as well as off-road. Now, in 2018, I had the opportunity to do some off-road testing. I didn't really get the chance to test them on the tarmac that much. But the off-road testing was in New Zealand. These tyres were fitted to Yamaha Tenere 1200s. And we had the opportunity to ride in the mountains to the south of Queenstown. And the country was quite extreme. So we had the rough, gnarly, loose gravel and granite type roads leading up the mountains. And then on the top of the mountain, we had a combination of dirt and snow, so there was this sloshy mud. And then down in the valleys, there was these forestry trails that were very smooth. Even though they had kind of a sandy surface, they were quite grippy surfaces. And it was these extremes where I got the chance to really put these tyres under pressure in the off-road conditions. What I found was the grip on these things was quite amazing. And in fact, in some cases, I thought they were as good as a full knobbie. Now, the traction side of it, right, they performed almost as well as the Karoo 3 on the loose, granity roads leading up into the mountains. They were amazing in their performance in the muddy, slippery conditions, but where they really shone for me was down on the forestry trails. They performed, you know, what I can only describe as like a flat track tyre. So incredible grip around the corners, tremendous drive, you know, when you hit the gas there. But the stability of these things under brake, while steering and all that was surprisingly good. So I was really impressed with the quality of these tyres, and I thought at that time that I'd like to whack a set of these tyres on my R1200GS and give them a test on the bitumen, because we never really got to test them in the bitumen as much as we did as we could have. So we did that. We did that about a week ago, whacked a set of Karoo Street tyres on this R1200GS, and then over the course of the last 5 days, we've done a number of rides and a total of 642 kilometres. Now, those 642 kilometres comprised 2 runs up and down a 263 corner range. So it was over 1,000 corners, hard, foot peg grinding riding. And then the longer ride I did yesterday, actually, on Australia Day, and that was 402 kilometres. And we did a long transport section early in the morning, around 4 a.m. in the morning, and then we ended up riding up some windy roads up the coast, and then a very tight, twisty range, which I did 3 laps of. You know, someone says, you want to do another lap? No, I just can't resist it. So we did that, and we really got to press these tyres pretty hard in some serious riding conditions, and everyone around us is riding predominantly on sports bikes. So I think they were surprised on the performance. The comments that I have about these particular tyres, first of all, the grip. The grip at full lean is amazing. The structure of the tyre, the way they built these tyres, they get a very good contact patch. Even though they're kind of off-road designed in some ways, they don't go down the knobby path. And the structure of these different blocks of rubber on the tyres gives you a big contact patch. So their performance at full lean, and like I said, with the foot pegs scraping on the bitumen, was quite spectacular. And at no time at all did they let go, even though they were leaving big black marks under the throttle as you exited the corners. The traction themselves, so the traction at a drive, quite amazing. The bike performed perfectly. You know, it's got electronics, obviously. And I was surprised how well they actually gripped. I thought they might let go a little bit more, but they didn't. Traction or stability under braking conditions. Now, this was one of the standout points for me, was the ability to be able to trail brake into a corner like quite hard and all the way to the apex. So these things behaved very much like a street tyre or a tarmac tyre. and at no time did they give any indication that we're actually riding on a tyre that was also designed to ride in an off-road condition. So I was super impressed with their stability, particularly under braking, and the traction and drive they gave, and the grip at full lean. The other thing about these particular tyres is when you're riding them right, you're going to set these up with different tyre pressures. We set these 34 psi cold front, 38 psi cold rear, and the stability of the tyre itself in driving in straight line, right, spectacular. But the standout again for me was, when you're steering into corners, the ability of the rider to be able to quick steer this motorcycle, which needs to be quick steered to ride hard, right? The responsiveness of those tyres, I just can't fault at all. So performance on the bitumen, quite amazing. My only criticism about these particular tyres is they make a bit of road noise. So the structure of the tyre, so the way they constructed it was this: they replicated the profile of the Tourance Next tyre in the profile of the Karoo Street. But what they then did, and this was a real smart thing, they took the tread pattern from the Karoo 3 and they applied that to the Karoo Street. But what they have done is closed up the gap in the grooves. So the grooves you'll find look very, very similar to what you see in the Karoo 3, but much tighter. So the benefits of that is that you get the off-road performance that goes down the path of what you would expect from an off-road tyre, but it's got the profile of a road tyre. So it's got this combination of ideas built into the particular tyre. But one of the problems with having this off-road type style of tread pattern is the noise itself. And as I said, it's my only criticism is the noise that we got riding these at certain speeds on certain types of bitumen. But aside from that, I can't fault the tyre. The tyre, a perfectly performing tyre in tarmac conditions, great performance in off-road conditions, particularly when you're riding in forestry trails and doing things where you kind of expect the performance of a flat track style tyre. So I'm mega impressed. I'm going to leave these on the bike, and in fact I would buy another set and whack these on here and continue with these because they just give you the best of both worlds. So there you have it. Go and get a set, give them a run, and I think you're going to be incredibly impressed.